Historically, Black colleges and universities have been around for over 150 years, and many of their alum have gone on to make history. But even with such a rich legacy, there are those who question the relevance and importance of these institutions of higher education. We will explore the origins, the impact, and debunk many of the misconceptions surrounding HBCUs with Dr. Fraser Wilson, Vice President of Shell Oil Company Foundation and Director of Workforce Diversity and Outreach, Dr. Skip Mason, Senior Pastor of West Mitchell Street CME Church in Atlanta, Georgia. Dominic Roy is a senior at Prairie View A&M University majoring in political science. And Harrison Richmond is a graduate student and radio personality at Texas Southern University. I'm Deborah Duncan, host of KHOU's Great Day Houston, and these are Cultural Conversations. Today we're talking about HBCUs. Now, some of you said HBCU what? Others of you are like, yeah, I've heard of those, but what does it really mean? And then there are others of you who are very familiar with what an HBCU is. It has a long, rich history. Dr. Skip Mason, explain to us what it is and how it got started.
Wow. So these historical Black colleges and universities, many of them began post-emancipation. Many of them were established by churches and denominations. Some were established by the Freedmen AIDS Bureau, but they all came together to create opportunities for the sons and daughters of the former enslaved to have an opportunity to get an education. And they have flourished since that time. They have created consistently since their inception opportunities for African Americans and minorities to get a quality education and to engage in perhaps one of the most magnificent cultural experiences ever. They are spread throughout the country, and most graduates of HBCUs feel that their particular school is the absolute best, as I did because of the great experience I had at Morris Brown College.
Yeah. Dr. Wilson, a lot of people will say, okay, we've gone through desegregation. We're over that. Why is it so important to still have an HBCU? It's a different experience.
HBCUs give you an opportunity to be in a setting where you're the majority for typically the first time for many of us, but it focuses on developing your leadership and giving you an opportunity to contribute to the community, but also instills in you that sense of responsibility, the support that you receive from your professors, and just the history and the camaraderie that you get from the alumni. There's nothing like that helps prepare you to make a difference and be productive.
One of my coworkers had said she thought she knew Black history until she went to an HBCU in Clark. And she said, oh my gosh, I had no idea how rich our story really was because I was never taught it. So just a slice of an example of how it can be different. Radio Rich, what made you choose an HBCU? And compare that to what your grade school was like.
I think that's a great point. I went to school in an area where Black history was of the normal. You hear about your Martin Luther Kings, your Rosa Parks, but it didn't really dig deep into some of the other things that I picked up on once I got to a HBCU. It was pretty interesting that my high school didn't necessarily have a career day that involved HBCUs at all. So I was totally unaware of the HBCU experience. No one in my family had attended an HBCU. So when I heard of Texas Southern University, I accepted to go to that university, not on the basis of it being an HBCU, but I walked away with a greater appreciation for not only our history, but the importance of having HBCUs and what they stand for.
Let's take a look at HBCUs by the numbers. There are currently 101 accredited HBCUs located in 19 states, the District of Columbia, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. The majority of HBCUs are located in the southern region of the U.S. These institutions enroll nearly 300,000 students, and approximately 80% of the students are African American. HBCUs make up only 3% of U.S. colleges and universities, but produce nearly 20% of all African American graduates and 25% of African American graduates with degrees in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Dominique, why did you choose Prairie View A&M?
Prairie View actually chose me. I wasn't really thinking about Prairie View. When I was in high school, my dream major was to be in dance. But my senior year, that was the election year. So a lot of things changed during that time. So I changed my mindset and my career path to political science. And it's just things started falling in line. So I truly believe that Prairie View was like God sent to me. And it's been a beautiful decision for me to accept to go to Prairie View, because Prairie View has especially changed my life.
Yeah. Dr. Mason, what brought you to an HBCU?
Well, actually, my mother and father graduated from Morris Brown College, so I was saturated with it growing up. And as a kid, on Saturdays, I worked at the college's football stadium, Herndon Stadium. I sold Coca-Colas in the crate and moving up and down the bleachers. I watched the Marching Wolverines band, and I said one day I'm going to be in the band. So when that time came for me, I had the wonderful opportunity to go to my parents' alma mater where they met, and it was just really a magnificent experience. And like Dr. Wilson said, it created an opportunity for nurturing and for developing leadership skills.
Yeah. And Dr. Wilson, for you?
Yeah, I chose it. It was an opportunity to go back and see family because we had moved to Illinois. But additionally, just the recognition of the support, seeing the success of African American graduates. I went there as an accounting major. Jackson State was one of the largest producers of accountants. So just the opportunity just to reconnect and again continue to be around your family and be mentored.
Yeah. So, as a VP at Shell, working in diversity and outreach, what makes a graduate from an HBCU someone that you would like to see as an employee, to recruit as an employee?
Uh, One of the huge selling things that we see from HBCU graduates, it's creativity and innovation. Typically, you're at institutions where you don't always have the access to the best resources, but the creativity and the tenacity that they bring to solving problems. And many times these students are working second jobs or first time. So that work ethic is key and paramount to having a successful candidate who comes in and who we consider for employment opportunities.
Yeah, and Dr. Mason, of course, funding, not only on the student side, but funding is always an issue for universities themselves. We know that HBCUs over the years have gone through some struggles. Is part of that because of systemic racism, or is it just, just a matter of sheer numbers and getting people onto your campus? What have they experienced? And since we've gone through the heightened awareness of racism, have we seen more money come in and enrollment go up?
I think, let me answer the latter first. I think that this is perhaps one of the best times for HBCUs, particularly given what has happened in the political realm with the Vice President, Kamala Harris, being a graduate of an HBCU, Raphael Warner, elected senator. And so HBCUs are shining, continue to shine as they've done for the last 100 plus years. But yes, it is tough. Many students come there with hardly the funds, some to, support their education. So their scholarship, work study opportunities. Presidents have a tremendous task of trying to sell their institution and convince the corporate and philanthropic community to donate. But I would even go further to say that it is important that graduates and alumni of these colleges give back, that we support these schools that have helped us tremendously and open doors that perhaps would not have been open if we had not had an opportunity to go to an HBCU.
We hear so often people say, I'd love to go to school, but I just can't afford it. So Harrison, I know one of the things you have is that great job on campus, but has money ever been an issue for you into how we're going to get into college and how you're going to get out?
No, I really never thought twice about it. I had a great support system going into college who kind of put me on game about as far as many resources that we have at our fingertips. So through financial aid and scholarships, because I was a pretty good student in high school, although I didn't do well in the standardized testing. I would say that, historically Black colleges have done a great job at that as well, and being able to place us in alternative programs, not that necessarily based off of our standardized testing, but there are so many resources for students that would like to go to a historically Black college, and not even Black students, even if you are of other ethnicities, there's so many avenues for individuals, period, to partake in the HBCU experience, and I encourage anybody to do so.
In Texas, there are a total of 9 HBCUs, and these schools comprise 9% of the 4-year public and private institutions in the Lone Star State. There are more than 15,000 African American undergraduates enrolled at HBCUs in our state. 20% of all Black undergraduates in Texas attended an HBCU, and 18% of all bachelor degrees earned by African American students were awarded by HBCUs. Yeah, and Dominique, for those students who say, I'd like to go, but your best advice?
Even when I was coming in, I had to question, I even questioned myself, questioned my ability. I am technically the first, but really the youngest person to go off to college and actually go off to a university. So it's a lot of pressure to do that. But I have an amazing support system with my mother and my sister and my church family and things like that. So I always had a sense of foundation that even if things got hard, I had somebody to turn to or have somebody or someone to talk to and that can understand what I'm going through. So it's always but just try to think of the positive and try to think of why that you want to come to college in general, not even just at HBCU.
And that's the beauty of a HBCU. We're so open, and regardless of your background, economics, or what you're experiencing, just culturally, we're just an open group. We're inviting. So everyone experiences that. One of the guys in our accounting program at Jackson State, white guy, we both came to Shell, got recruited by Shell, did great. He was there on a minority scholarship. And again, just embracing everyone, and he felt a part of the community. He engaged in all the activities. So to me, this is the utopia, the Black college experience, where everyone gets a chance to show up and be included and not left out. Everyone gets to be at the cool table or whatever when you come to HBCU. So it's just a wonderful way of bringing the world together, particularly as young people.
Dr. Mason, there's always that stereotype, that imprinting. Wait a minute. So are the courses as good? Are these schools as good? Well, if people don't know, I'll say just at TSU, you have a world-class, pharmacy school. You've got your law school. At Prairie View, you've got an amazing engineering, College of Engineering. These are top-notch education sources, right?
Absolutely. There's a meme of Candy Burris from The Real Housewives of Atlanta. I use it all the time. And she says, lies, lies, lies. Anyone who thinks that the education at an HBCU is subpar and substandard has not attended one. Certainly, we get the best education from some of the best professors who could be and could have been working at other institutions, majority institutions, making far more money, but they challenged us, they pushed us, and did not allow us to sink to mediocrity in our work. At HBCUs, we were able to improve our writing skills, our analytical, critical, and thinking skills. And so we were pushed. And that's the extra that you get at an HBCU. But I refute, as we say in the church, I refute that demon who wants to say that education was subpar. We had a great education in the HBCUs that I attended.
So people who are thinking about it right now, I'm going to start with you, Harrison Radio Rich. If someone is thinking about college, what would you say to them to at least give an HBCU a look?
I would say draw on experiences that you had from high school. A lot of the times walking into a large campus after doing a high school education, there's a lot of things that could make you a little nervous or a little scared. But one thing that I definitely took the liking to is the classroom size. I got an opportunity to meet and actually build a relationship with professors that if I needed to, I could pick up the phone and get a letter of recommendation, or if I needed to, just let them know that I'm just having a bad day. That's also an option because we have a good relationship. So I think that homegrown experience, that family-oriented experience is definitely at an HBCU. And if that's something that would help motivate you get across the finish line of graduation and allow you to feel as if you are part of the culture, HBCU is definitely the place to be.
All right, Dominique?
Yes, I would just encourage people to just be active. I can't express how many opportunities and how many experiences that I have experienced by just being active on campus. Ever since I stepped foot on Prairie View when I was a freshman back in 2017, is that I've always been active and I've always been going out, meeting people. Don't be afraid because you are in like a new setting. And just what was said before, that of course it's different to adjust from high school to college, but this is your time to actually learn what do you like and what do you love and what's your passion. So while you're here for these 4 years and shaping your life into adulthood, please experience things that you probably would have experienced if you were not here. So just take
Yeah.
advantage of it.
And while I have the opportunity, shout out to Roy Perry, because I think it's the Roy Perry College of Engineering, right? Talk about
Yes.
coming back and helping your university or college. All right, Dr. Wilson.
Yeah, so think about your major and where you might want to live once you graduate. Because if you go to a HBCU, you know the companies that are coming there are looking for minority talent. That's one of the things that sets us apart. Additionally, you have an opportunity to stay in a warm weather state. Most of the HBCUs are a warm weather state, so that's always a plus. So as you're traveling for your spring break, it's usually a little closer to get to Florida or wherever you're trying to get to in that experience. And then just lastly, just think about the history and the connections. Our HBCUs have produced most of our leaders, as you start from Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson, and on and on. That experience and what you learn in that history, how that prepares you to go out and really shine and represent yourself well in this experience. So just consider all those things and what you want to do in the future.
Pastor Dr. Mason.
Yes, I concur. I would, suggest to students to do their homework. It used to be that you could schedule tours on the campus. I don't know whether they're still doing it because of the pandemic, but you can do virtual tours, check out the academic program, go to YouTube and you can look at testimonials, talk to alumni. But I encourage students and I have a son who is graduating from the Piney Woods Academy right outside of Jackson, Mississippi in May. And so we're in the thick of that process now. He loves music, and so that is what's driving. We want to find an HBCU that has an exceptional music program to further his musical gifts and talents. And I'm pushing him to finding it because if he leaves it for me to find, he may not be happy. So I want him to be happy with the decision that he makes. And I encourage students to spend some time. They spend a lot of time on their phones and iPads and computers playing games and doing others. Spend some time doing some research on these prospective schools and visit it if you can and feel good about the decision that you're going to make, because it is actually going to impact and change your life forever.
Thank you all so much for the conversation. And as usual with Cultural Conversations, we encourage people to take what we said here and then have your own conversations among your family and friends. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.